What's going on, you guys? It's your Huggable Hipster here, and welcome to my love letter to Resident Evil 0. I love doing these videos where I just sit down and basically fangirl to you guys about the games that I love. Because while, yes, I am a game reviewer, I feel like it's so important for me to just unearth my giddy excitement about games that I truly love and feel like they're just my home sweet home, you know? In a nutshell, Resident Evil 0 said to the entire Resident Evil franchise, hold my beverage. Resident Evil 0 is basically the premise and the prequel for everything that happens in the Spencer Mansion. While Resident Evil 1 Remake is going on, Resident Evil 0 is taking place. They both happen simultaneously. Resident Evil 0 is the perfect storm, the perfect catalyst for everything to be set up beautifully to go right into Resident Evil 1 Remake. I feel as if Resident Evil 0 should be played first, and then Resident Evil 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, skip 6, go into 7, 8, and then when 9 comes out, go into 9. It's amazing because whenever you see that ending scene in Resident Evil 0, you get that kind of pit in your stomach. I don't know. I think that's just how it was for me whenever I finished Resident Evil 0, of where I was like, wait a second, we hear the gunshot. We see the fade into where the Spencer Mansion is. We know where the story is going. And I feel like this game encapsulated how to do a prequel correctly when it comes to the gaming industry. It gave us characters that we actually cared about. It made us want more from the Resident Evil franchise. I feel like Resident Evil 0 was the only Resident Evil game that made me want to know what happened next in the series. I know that's a very bold claim to make, but stay with me for a second. I think I played Resident Evil 3 when I was with one of my nieces when I was still very young. I think I was like maybe 12, 13 years old at the time. And I loved Resident Evil 3, but it didn't hold that same value that Resident Evil 0 did. And then Resident Evil 4 came out, and I remember being absolutely in love with that game. But there are just certain moments of a game that carry with you, and that's just your base and judgment for how you perceive every other game that comes from that series. And again, it's a bold claim, but Resident Evil 1 Remake and Resident Evil 0 are the best in the franchise. Resident Evil 0 sets up the scene absolutely perfectly and then goes right into Resident Evil 1 Remake, or what's part of it within the story, because remember, like I said, they're both happening simultaneously within the same timeline. And for part of it, we have where we're looking for Bravo Team, right? So as we're looking for Bravo Team, we're also on the way to where the area of the mansion is set. It all makes sense. It's all seamless. Now, Resident Evil 2 and 3 happening at the same time as well, but I feel as if there was more cohesiveness between the two stories of Resident Evil 0 and 1. Now, not only is the ambiance good, but in classic Resident Evil style, the item management is chef's kiss all around, all around. Now, I know that's a complaint that a lot of people have with the item management, but if you think about it, that's what makes Resident Evil games a classic, is the item management, thinking, okay, if I put this down near the item box, if I pick this grappling hook up from over here, which takes 2 spaces, by the way. I'm not complaining, I'm just saying. And if I put this healing item over here, if I do this, if I finagle my way, which, by the way, you get to a certain point in Resident Evil 0 where you strategically place items around the mansion and around certain areas of where you have to compensate and you have to let things go in your inventory in order to make room for something else, like a key card or something. But you can strategically place them that way. When you need them, you can pick them back up again in the same area. Also, another iconic thing about this game, I can't believe I almost forgot to mention it, is the music. The music is by far, in Resident Evil 1 Remake and Resident Evil 0, the best it's ever been in Resident Evil. I want to say that for those who didn't hear me in the back. Resident Evil 1 Remake and Resident Evil 0's music are the best in the entire franchise. Yeah, Resident Evil 8 and Resident Evil 7 had some really great ambionic sounds that made me kind of go a little bit shivery. Like, it gave me the goosey bumps. Like, it made me actually like kind of trepidatious of what's to come, but it never made me actually, I don't know, enjoy myself in the game. The music adds a certain level of fear or anticipation or joy or any kind of emotion that it's supposed to evoke. Whenever I hear the music from Resident Evil 1 Remake or Resident Evil 0, I hear my childhood. Like, I know my nostalgia is speaking for a lot of this, but that's the purpose of these videos, to just fangirl, let everything go, let all of just my let my gaming journalism self just sit aside for a second and be the fangirl that I was meant to be with this franchise. Don't even get me started on Billy Cohen. Don't even get me started. I miss that character. Okay, there's so many theories that are out there about what has happened to him. The fact that he might be the nemesis, which, I mean, it would kind of make sense, right? Maybe? Just me? No? Okay, fine. Also, a side note, I do have an entire theory, which I wrote an article back like a few years ago. The fact that Lisa was used as inspiration to create Alice in the Resident Evil movies. I'll go more into that if you guys want. It's an original theory. It's mine. No one else has thought of it. Okay, I claim it. I claim mine. I just want Billy Cohen back in one of the games. I want Rebecca Chambers and him in some way in the story to meet up and just be one with the story. I don't know how it'll make sense, but Capcom, you guys have brilliant, amazing writers. You guys can make it make sense. And I think why it holds such a special place for me is because during high school, this was my go-to game. This was something that I repeatedly played, more so than Resident Evil 1 Remake. This was my, like, if I was getting bullied in school or if I was having an off day with a teacher, I was just, other things in life were happening, I would always revert back to playing this. I would pop in the disc, replay it or play it from where I started off, and it would just be, it's one of those safe zone games for me of where I can just chill with and I know that everything's going to be okay. But that was my love letter to Resident Evil 0. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys like my face and what I do, please be sure to subscribe and hit that bell down below. I make videos every day here on YouTube. May you find your worth in the waking world, your hunter. Stay casually nerdy, and I will see you all in the next video. Umbasa.